Hello there, scrappy friend. Suzanne here in the studio today with a little card play. We're going to look at 20 different cards, actually a few more than that, and in which I used 20 different stamp sets. This all came about a couple weekends ago when I was doing an online event sponsored by my Stampin' Up! Uplines upline, and we had a couple of days full of fun card making with lots of fun folds. So today we're going to get to look at those. Okay, first here we have the couple of paper lines I was trying to use up. First of all, this 6x6 is called Inked Botanicals. This is a recently retired 6x6, and you can see here I used over half of it. And then also for where the cards where that wasn't going to work, I also used some of this In Good Taste Designer Series paper, which is wood grains and some other textures, and I just used a few pieces of that. But so I was working on those two paper lines. Okay, I will show you first of all the stamp set I used. Here is these are almost all retired stamp sets because I was using what I had. This one is called Country Home. In case you might have this. It was a photopolymer stamp set. And here is the first card. Let me go ahead and zoom in. All right, this is a fun fold card. This opens this way. So you have this sort of half flap on the front where you've turned it back, and then you've got a square in the middle. So very fun fold. And then I just punched some little sprigs. I always have a hard time remembering what to call those, to put in my little picture. And then I used a little bit of Copic coloring here to give this a little bit of shadowing. So there was the first one. Very fun. Okay, next up. Here is Wrapped Bouquet. This was a cling stamp set that had the matching framelits. And here was the card. This is another fun fold. And here you're using an element to hold your card closed. So we have a flap that goes up and one that comes down. And then you can put your sentiment inside. So very fun. Takes a little bit of effort to get this reclosed, but it's just a very fun way to use that sort of two-piece embellishment there. All right, next up. Thoughts and Prayers. Here we were concentrating on using the tree. This is an older set as well, as you can tell, because this has the green colorway on the packaging. And I've actually here taken two of the single stamp sets and put them in their double-sized cases. You can no longer get these double-sized cases from Stampin' Up, but it was a great way to combine when you had lots of stamps. So here you can see I used the tree. This was more a straightforward card. This wasn't really a fancy fold. We have two different papers here, and then we have a layer with the twine, and then our tree is our focal point. And then inside we have this. So the gal who designed this, while she was on the topic of trees, she then used some tree punches, and I have a little tree punch from Stampin' Up, and I used it to make this card. This is another fun fold here where we have a flap that's on the front, and then inside we actually cut a corner slit here in order to put this. We could also insert this as well. Very fun. This sentiment here is actually not a Stampin' Up. This was a single clear stamp. I don't even know who makes it. It's just one that I had gotten that was glued to a block when I was buying. I picked up some blocks, cheap acrylic blocks, and it was stuck to the acrylic block. So I use it occasionally. It says, "Hello, my friend. I've been thinking of you." It was just perfect for this long linear portion of this card. So I really like how this tucks in. Of course, this corner punch, this was a Stampin' Up! Punch also. So I'm really making good use of my Retired Stampin' Up! Product. Okay, the next two cards were made with Sky is the Limit. This is an old Celebration kit from a couple years back, as you can see, green colorway. But this would go great with the current Designer Series paper, Take to the Sky. So instead of having to buy a new kit, if you already have a new stamp set, if you already have this one, it would work well with that. Very fun. Of course, the new stamp set is nice too. It is a 3D card, as you can see here. We've actually put a panel on the back so you could write your greeting there, since there's really no place here. I did not actually have any sky paper, so I just used the clouds here to make my own sky paper. This is very fun. And then of course this just, if you just fold it this way, then it fits in your standard card envelope. So that was fun. Here's another fun fold. This one we have a flap that goes up, and then a flap that comes out. And then we have our sentiment panel in the middle. I really like the wood grain here with this green color, and then I was using espresso ink for my sentiments and to cut out my airplanes. This Celebration set did not have the die cuts, but the new airplane set that goes with Take It to the Sky does. So if you really love the dies, you'll love that set. Okay, next up we have another double set, Crazy About You. This is an older one, and here it was these two circular elements I was going to use, the flower and this. And this actually goes with a punch. I'm not sure if this had a punch or not, but let me show you what I did there. Here is the first card. And this was fun as we stamped. And what I actually did, because I wanted alternating colors, I used markers to color my stamp. And then I stamped it, and then I cut the image into 4, and we tiled it on the front. And this is actually glued down to a another layer, and then we ran the whole thing through an embossing folder just to kind of give it that more embossed look. And it really does hold the two layers together really, really well. And then this is a panel card. Here, this pops up. The birthday wishes is holding it down. So excuse me. Basically, this is a half and half card, and then you have this overlapping panel that you've put on the front. And then it tucks. Isn't that pretty? That's one I can see using a lot. Here's the second one from that set. And here, as you can see, first I stamped the image, and then I stamped it on a separate piece of paper, and I cut out every other petal. And then it made a really cute flowers. And then again, this is just this is not a fun fold. This is just a simple. And then I went ahead and stamped inside as well. Isn't that cute? This was really fun to play with. There are some flower stamps, like I think the gal who designed this card, actually used like a daisy stamp here. And that would work wherever you have separate petals. Very fun, don't you think? Next up, we have Watercolor Trio. And here, basically, we just have a long, skinny flower. So, Spotlight on Nature stamp set, I think, is what was originally used for this, but I didn't have that one yet, although that stamp set, and especially the dies, are on my wish list. So we have this, and really, this is just a cardstock card. We sort of made our own background here by just using blends markers to just kind of sketch some color. And then we stamped images over the top. And then we've got a little ribbon going through. So there's a card using nothing but cardstock. Pretty, don't you think? Okay, then next up, I used birthday blossoms. Are you counting these stamp sets as I go along? This one was really fun. I basically just needed this leaf here because I was going off of my background paper and I had lots of these leaves. So this is a very, very fun fold. Here, this center panel actually pulls out. So you've got this flap going across here. And then when you open it, you've got something on the back side of that. And then you open this up and you have a frame here. So I could go ahead if I wanted to and write here, or I could stamp another sentiment here and then write a personal note down here. But this was really fun to have this flap that goes inside. And basically you just need a stacking die to be able to pull this off. And Stampin' Up, this one wasn't actually Stampin' Up, but Stampin' Up had a very similar one to this. So that was very fun. And while I had those dies out, I went ahead and did the next one. And this was a fun fold in that you were using a 12-inch piece of paper. I think it actually gets, yeah, 12-inch, and then you fold it back an inch. And so this whole top layer and inside layer are all one piece of paper. So I couldn't use my 6x6 pad. I had to use that for this, the 12x12. This stamp set here is called Very Vintage. And I've both used this lace, because I think the lace makes a nice contrast to the wood grain and to the sort of textured background. And then one of the best things in life is the sentiment I used. So that was an easy one. Here is the next one. Here we've cut the front panel down, and you would think that this would open up like this, but actually you tilt this to open. Isn't that fun? So this long panel here is stationary. And then again, excuse me, I used that birthday blossoms for this flower. And I'm not sure what the name, maybe we'll come across this stamp set where I did the wood grain. This is using the basic beige, which is a new color by Stampin' Up. It is going to be a very versatile neutral. It's also the color here that I have on the inside. Pretty, huh? Moving along still. Splendid Thoughts. This is a newer stamp set. It has matching framelits. I think this may be already retired though, but recently so. And here we used a die cut. I actually stacked two die cuts. The first one was this circular scalloped one, and then on top of it I had one that did these little dots. The gal who made this card, designed it, actually used some of the Spotlight on Nature dies, which have a lot of really pretty circular elements, and so that's why it's on my list, because hers was a little more involved because she had coordinated dies, and here I was using two separate ones. And then we've got the It's the flower that I colored with blends. And then I've actually got some dots on here that I used using some glitter markers. And then the You Are In My Prayers came from another Stampin' Up stamp set. Okay, the next one uses a couple of different stamp sets, the Flowers of Friendship. I am using this these flowers, and these actually have matching punches. I need to mark my case so I remember. But I didn't actually use those punches. And then I did use my Papillion Potpourri. I did use this butterfly out of that. So there are two more stamp sets. And here is the card. Isn't this pretty? The gal who designed it had actually done this vertical element here, and then she repeated it kind of coming down the other way. But I decided to change it up a little. And then she had a circle here, but I decided to use this curved Stampin' Up punch and then the butterfly. And as you can see, I am a big believer in Stampin' Up punches. They last a long time, and they can be used with sets other than the ones they originally brought out to match if they're a particular shape. Okay, shall we keep going? Oh, here's that Truly Grateful. That's where I got that wood grain. The next one uses Simply Soft. Here again, we have those long, narrow floral elements. This is actually a two-step stamp set. So you use these colors here to add colors to your base images. This is a pretty simple card here. We just have a panel with our vertical element, and then I've used a scalloped oval punch, and then I used an embossing folder from my stash. So, and then inside I have added a little bit of paper just to bring in a little more color. This is Calypso Coral. This is, again, Stampin' Up ribbon. And these, you've been seeing a lot of pearls and little gems. Those have all been Stampin' Up as well. So I was really using my Stampin' Up stuff. Next up, Dragonfly Dreams. This has matching framelets. And it was kind of funny because I didn't use the framelit that would have cut out the big dragonfly. I actually used the framelit that cut out a series of 5 dragonflies. And then I cut one off and put it in here. Again, here's that textured paper that works so well. This is smoky slate paper. And here we've just got, 2 panels on the front of a card. So it's not a fancy fold, but it is a striking card design, I think. All right. Let's keep moving on. Next up, Basket for You. I love baskets. Here we have, this is a fun fold. You pull this out and then you have these different panels. As my base, I used the wood grain from the In Good Taste. And then I overlaid a couple of different patterns. From the front, I like the flowers that match this, but then when it's opened, I wanted to bring in some of this green from the leaves, so I used this pattern. This panel is not necessarily necessary, but I do think it adds a little something something. And then I've got a couple of butterflies here. I'm not sure what stamp set that was from, but I had all kinds of them out on my table for the weekend. And it was really fun to use so much of your stash. We tell ourselves we have all of this stuff and we never use it. So that event was a good chance to use up a lot of things. Next up, Color Me Happy. This is an older set as well. It was the birds I was interested in using. And here we have it. This is a pretty simple card. We've used a embossing folder for the one layer, and then I used wood grain here, and then I actually stamped this bird and fussy cut him out of a light piece of wood grain. That might be hard for you to actually see. And then I added some more accent colors with blends markers. And then we've got these cute little flowers. And I added detail to them too, just using a marker. Gives them a little extra something something. And again, this is the basic beige, the new neutral from Stampin' Up. It makes an amazing background just by embossing it. Okay. Oh, here's where I got the butterfly on that earlier card. It was from the Blossoming Basket. And also this little thing here, instead of putting a branch or something in his beak, I decided to use these little tags with the little hearts on it. So that both of those were from Blossoming Baskets. All right. Next up, here again, I have another one of those butterflies and a matching punch. And then I've used lots of punches and just die cuts from my stash. And here basically we're just using lots of diagonal elements on this card. So it's just your basic card as far as the fold goes, but then we've also used this punch, 2 punches here actually. This, believe this is Tailored Tag, and can't remember what this one is called. Very nice. After that, Tea Shop. Here I was using several of these. I used the teacups, and I used this punch outline here, and I used this oval. And here is the card. What's special about this card is we decided to use some glitter paper to add a layer to make it a little more sparkly. And then instead of using those pearls, I switched to the mini rhinestones. This pretty. So I really like that. Next up, we had another fun fold card. This sentiment, thank you for everything, came from one of the earlier sets I had shown you. And this is an interesting fold because it has sort of this V in the middle. And then we play up this V by doing, I did butterflies. And of course, these were little butterfly stickers I had in my stash, so I used some of my powder tool to take the stickiness off the part that I didn't want to stick. So it's very simple, but then I think the butterflies really make it special. And again, it's a nice fun fold card. Are you tired of seeing cards yet? It was really a very intense weekend, and I ended up finishing up on Monday. Here is another stamp set I pulled out, 10 of cards that has matching framelits. Here it was just as simple as using this hello. But I used some punches I had. These 2 punches were from, I think, the catalog, the last catalog. I can't remember what they're called. I really do need to make a list of my punches and learn the names of them again. But basically, we just put down, you know, sort of 3 diagonal rows. I like that this particular punch overlaps a little bit of my outer layer. And then we've got a little bit of ribbon and some enamel dots. And then I chose to put this square. Of course, I had some square punches from Stampin' Up. But you could also just cut those on your cutter. And then I made sure to line it up with this black border here. So, turned out very, very fun. And it's a quick and simple card, but it has a lot of impact because of, I think because of the black. And then on the inside layer, I took my, this is vanilla, and I punched out the X so that it would have just been orange showing through, but then I went ahead and put an X of the pattern paper there as well. Very fun. I think that's it. A couple of other ones I had out were Inspired Thoughts, the Sheltering You with Love at a Time When Words Fall Short. I used that on that tree card. And then I believe You Are in My Prayers I used on one of the cards. So it was more than 20 cards, more than 20 stamp sets. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll give me a thumbs up. And if you aren't already a subscriber, I hope you'll subscribe. As always, I appreciate your time and attention. Bye for a bit.